to the measure of a woman in this society. Okay, what we have, okay, the communication card came out in reverse. There definitely should be a breakdown in communication when it comes to the collective of masculines and feminines and how they're actually speaking their truth regarding how they want to be treated. A lot of people are not being upfront and honest with how they want to be treated. Some people are just saying what it is that they feel is popular, what it is that they feel acceptable, and if that mean is, you know, you are accepting being called out of your name as, a term of endearment, although you're saying these things as a measure of trying to get the attention of the male gaze. If this is a male in an unhealthy state mentally, unfortunately, you bear the brunt of the responsibility of bringing about a certain type of energy, communicating that through body language, through how you look, through how you dress, through how you present yourself, through how you talk, of what it is that you want to be conveyed back to you. So if you're calling yourself a hoe, a bee, if you're calling yourself all these derogatory terms, because you feel that based on media, based on indoctrination, based on this very perverse music, this very occultic music, when you are operating under that sense of self annihilation, of course you're going to attract, you're going to bring to you, draw to you the very things that you don't want. So this is why the communication needs to happen. Even by us sharing these truths on these platforms is bringing about a shift in the conversation, because the conversation has been a lot of back and forth when it comes to the collective of masculine and feminine, when it comes to these gender wars. And in order for us to get out of the back and forth, the constant um, poking at the symptoms of what we're seeing in society, when we actually take the time and realize that, okay, the breakdown in communication when it comes to these gender wars, a lot of it has to do with, as women, us not being accountable and understanding that there's things that may be said to us, there's behaviors that may be projected onto us, but you have the ability to reject those things. You have the ability to say, you know what, I'm not okay with this. You have to get in the habit of teaching people how to treat you, training people literally that, okay, you may think that this is acceptable when it comes to other people because they may actually see it as an acceptable thing, but when it comes to you, that's something you don't accept. This is something that needs to be communicated. Also, we have the divine feminine card came out. Like, this is when you begin to mature in your womanhood, when you begin to understand that just because you want a connection, when it comes to having a divine complement, when it comes to having a partner, a man in your life, yes, you may want that, but that doesn't mean that you have to compromise on the value that you have. It doesn't mean that you have to conform to the bastardized version of what it means to be in a relationship when it comes to society. That is an illusion. We also have a divine intervention card coming up in fate. And the mere fact that, as you can see, the lightning struck, like, there is a major change that I'm seeing happen because a lot of women have divested. A lot of women have decided that they're not wanting to play the game per se, when it comes to, the bickering, the back and forth, when it comes to um, allowing yourself to be denigrated, all those things. Instead of women wanting to put forth effort of trying to find resolution, many women are at the point in their lives where they're like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just opting out of dealing with relationships. And that's okay if that's where you are. But if you're someone and you truly desire companionship, you truly desire intimacy, you truly desire, smelling a man that smells so good and yummy. Like, if you desire to have true fulfillment in your life when it comes to a life partner, when it comes to your husband, a man, whatever, it's going to require you to understand that within this society, you're going to more than likely have to bring some truth to light. You're going to have to actually do some work in regard to being very conscientious about how you're represented and how you want to be addressed. Even as I mentioned with the book, right, many people are going to be experiencing ego deaths when it comes to women and men. It's because some aspects of yourself have to die off in order for you to actually ascend, for you to actually realize that, okay, I'm a woman. There's power that I yield within that. And again, the ego death that could be happening, or Shigo, when it comes to a woman, that could be happening is, putting yourself in this type of mindset of like supreme superiority. Like, that's not what I'm going for. You can value yourself, you can nurture yourself as a woman without taking it to the max. Okay, without morphing into some level of toxic femininity. People talk about toxic masculinity, but toxic femininity is a thing. And it's something that is coming more so to the surface. We're seeing it, but it's not to be like, I would say not to be discouraged, because you are seeing people betray levels of toxic femininity. Like, it's actually healthy that people are being honest with who they are. And so at that point, when people are being honest with who they are, then they can draw from that and actually impart change. Like, in order for you to be treated as the woman that you want to be treated, to be honored, that means you have to be that woman. Okay, that is a part of it. That you actually leveling up your mentality to the point where you realize that, okay, I bear some responsibility when it comes to what it is that I am allowing, what it is that I'm tolerating. Because again, even in the book, it says how woman is the conscience of man. So your influence is valuable. What it is that you subscribe to, what it is that you and go ahead and subscribe and like. I don't think I mentioned that yet, but go ahead and do that. But what it is that you allow within your life is what is going to persist. I think I did, but I did it again. Shameless plug. But anyway, your dreams. You're having insight that's coming to you, divine feminines, and it's things that you may need to shift within yourself. You're getting these visions, you're getting these insight from the Most High, from the spiritual realm, from God, Yahshua, is because you're ready for it. Okay, I want to refer to this book one more time. I want to read this little excerpt again. And it says that when a man loves a woman, he has to become worthy of her. The higher her virtue, the more noble her character, the more devoted she is to truth, justice, and goodness, the more a man has to aspire to be worthy of her. The history of civilization could actually be written in terms of the level of its women. I'm going to read a little further down, and it says, okay, it says, if you consider such a man to be an impossible catch, then you'll never bother to set your standards high enough to attract them. But such men do exist. They come to us and ask, where are all the modest girls? If they want to be treated like ladies, how come they talk, dress, or dance like ladies? Don't ignore your conscience or give up on your deepest desires of your heart. If you're in an unhealthy situation, get out. Don't squander your life trying to change your guy or hoping he will miraculously improve. You're better than that. And so, as many of us are becoming like more honest with what it is that we want in our lives, it's going to require you to make some checks and balances. What is it about yourself that you can improve? What it is about how you talk, what it is about how you behave that can help you level up your womanhood. And even in the midst of that, even as I close out, the Spirit told me to read that book again for a reason. And that was definitely a message there. Okay? Literally, we have the dreams that's coming out with these messages. What is happening is, and y'all, disregard my nails. I have plans, so, I'll get to my nails at another time. Just wanted to put that in there. What you're being guided to make changes in your life in the form of how you behave, the things you listen to, the things you watch, are for a reason. It's time for you to make the right decisions so that you no longer avoid the blessings, the love, the favor that you have a desire for. Those desires that you have are not for no reasons. And even your desire to have a very committed, loving relationship that you can rely on, that you can trust, a lot of that bears burden within you. When you become what it is that you admire, when you become secure in all who you are and know the power you exude as a woman, you will attract the type of love that you deserve and desire. It may require you to make space for that. It may require you to leave certain situations or relationships behind. But if you have faith that, you know, amazing things have happened for others, if you've seen that, if you've witnessed that, realize that that faith is sufficient for yourself as well. You too can have the faith enough in order to shift things within your life. Become a better woman. Become that version of yourself that you really want to be. Become that girl. It's just that. Like, don't get caught up, and it's easy for us to get caught up in the things that we encounter. But, do your part. Don't rush yourself in the healing journey. What comes out, allow it to come out, but don't allow yourself to resonate heavily on healing per se. And I never even thought I would get to the point where I say that, because that has been such a major factor of my life. But the reality is that in life, you're always going to be, in some aspects, shifting, changing, growing in some aspects. Some aspects of you are going to have to die off as well. Some things that you may have done that has not served you well. Maybe the reactions that you have. Maybe the way that you communicate when you're frustrated. When you get to the point where you realize that what you have done is not what you want to continue to do, because you want different in your life, because you want to actually have the type of relationship that you may have read about or you've seen within others. You want that to actually come to fruition. It is going to begin with you upholding yourself in high esteem. If something is not enough for you, just let it be what it is. Do not allow yourself to force yourself in situations or amongst people that are not being respectful of what it is that you value. You are the value. And Spirit wants you to understand also that, by you being able to, portray morals, by you doing this is setting a healthy foundation. There's many of you that you are attracting your twin soul. You could be in a relationship with your twin soul. You could be going through like a healing process with your twin soul. That fragmented, you may have felt rejected. You may have experienced some level of loss when it came to that connection. But Spirit is the one you understand that you have a great ability to bring healing to these connections. Okay, you're not having to just be a bystander and think that, whatever is going on, I have to just accept it. No. If there's something that you don't totally accept as a woman, you don't have to argue your point. You don't have to try to convince anyone of it. But it's so powerful, but it's just in what it is that you tolerate. Your silence is powerful. You know how sometimes people will mock women or make fun of women of how much they talk. Okay, there's nothing for you to talk about. Conserve your energy. Focus your energy and your attention on what is bringing harmony to you. And truly bring harmony to yourself. Do things that you love. Do things that make you smile. Okay? Seeds are being planted in the spring. Some of you may have made a shift in your energy in a point where you're like, you just have received a level of acceptance of what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. You gain a level of maturity about that. And so just keep in mind that you may have had to share your expectations or light thereof. And that has set up some major seeds right now for this spring. I'm definitely picking up there's someone within this connection. It could be you, it could be your divine complement. Either one of y'all, and both of y'all actually could be feeling some level of loss, feeling fragmented. Yeah, both of y'all are feeling some level of rejection, loss, and fragmented. A lot of this too is healing because you're inviting in stability and flow. Okay, nurturing yourself, making sure that you consume your water, making sure that you get your exercise in. All these things help you feel better about yourself, so that when you are confronted with situations where you are dealing with the opposite sex in particular, you can do so in an even keel energy. You can do so showing them how you want to be treated. Okay, showing up, being kind, being considerate, being loving, giving off that loving energy, but also staying true within yourself. Okay? When something is offensive to you, it's not that you have to be reactive per se, but definitely making it aware, maybe through silence, making it aware through maybe you moving away or going somewhere else, that what it is that they're doing or into is not acceptable for you. And that's how you bring about change and not allow yourself to be limited by fears. Fears of, okay, what if I'm rejected if I say how I feel like, but it's in your delivery. How is it that you're delivering these things? This is another phase of awakening that's happening for the masculine collective by you choosing to be guarded and trust your femininity. They're awakening, y'all. Hold on, be true throughout this process, okay? Be true to yourself, be true to this connection, because by harvest, there's going to be a 180. You're going to see some major changes because the seeds are being planted now. They're taking stock this spring right now of this connection. There's a renewal spark here. And a lot of this is initiated by your ability to transform and to go within and to realize that you represent the true measure of society as a woman. Okay? In your own reality, you're receiving support, you're receiving love, you're receiving kindness, compassion, all these things. This could definitely be resonating for Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. I mean, y'all, a lot of these people are coming into union with you because they feel a deep soul tie with you, but at the same time, many of them have deluded themselves with deceptions, with temptations, but they can't seem to shake the feeling that they have for you. We have the air signs coming out, y'all. We have Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. They know that you are where the true value is. You are where the true love is. But the rejection is coming into play is because, yeah, karmic cycles are completed. There were some things that were coming up that may have been what some of the masculines that may have been within their environment. And so at that time when they were in that environment, they may have had resorted to behaving a certain way towards the feminine collective. But you are different. Even in context with the true measure of a civilization is the measure of a woman, the level of a woman. Like, you have to also keep in mind that all of these seeds are being planted in spring. You're expected to harvest this fall. So what that is being said is that the seeds that you're planting with your master now, this healing that you're going through in the form of, showing up as a woman with patience, with compassion, with love, is paying off. You're going to be able to celebrate. You're going to be gifted a lot. But it's not just about the material possessions per se, but on a deeper level, it's like you're going to be given the gift of loyalty. You're going to be given the gift of a ring. Many of you are going to be given the gift of nuptials. Like, a lot of amazing things are happening because many men, a lot of men, a good majority of men, from what I've read, and for men that I know, when you show respect, it's the thing, when you show respect to them, even in the midst of their flaws and faults, they're able to regenerate. They're able to rebuild themselves, whatever they're going through. And so, even though sometimes it may not necessarily logically make sense to how we think as women, just trust the process. Lean more so into your femininity, lean more so into your softness, and know that you choosing you choosing the straight and narrow, you choosing to elevate yourself as a woman. Okay, I read somewhere that if you really want to fix something within a man, it requires you to fix yourself. I can't remember where I read it, but it really rang true with me. Because on another level, it's like, just like you're going through things, your divine complement is going through something else, right? Going through many different things. And although there's things that you may see or behaviors that you pick up on that you don't necessarily agree with, they may even say things that you don't really agree with. By you trying to argue your point, by you trying to say hurtful things back to them, that is counterproductive. And unfortunately, we've all engaged in some levels of disrespect. And, ask for forgiveness for that. Even ask for your masculine for forgiveness for that. But focus on moving forward energetically with trusting your intuition, leaning into your femininity, and keeping the peace. With that combination, you're bound not only to win his heart, but you're going to win his loyalty. There's no one other than you. You are everything in his universe. Like, that's just what it is for your divine complement. But it's you unlocking key and understanding that you shape your reality. You're no competition. Like, there's no one that can compete with you. And so this version, this version of spiritual soft life is requiring you to submit. It's requiring you, the dreaded word, it's requiring you to understand that men and women are not made the same. There's needs that men have that women can kind of do without. Spirit is wanting you to be receptive to what it is that you feel the need to shift forward in your life. You can't do the same things over and over and expect another outcome. In order to bring about healing within these connections with the masculine and the feminine, it's going to require both parties to do their work. And unfortunately, at times, ladies, it requires us to do the work. And we're like, why is it up to us to start doing the work? Like, somebody has to start. We're naturally more spiritually inclined. And so this is a spiritual thing when you are being more so in tune with your heart, being lighthearted, not allowing the stressors of society to plague you or weigh you down and make you stress. Because that stress kind of takes you away from your natural femininity. So if at all possible, focus more so on being a better version of yourself on a daily basis. All right? Allow your yesterday version of yourself to be what you aspire to be better than. And know that by you aligning with the best version of yourself, you're naturally going to attract someone that too is being the best version of yourself.